So yeah. Okay, so the list you already saw. We'll go one by one. We'll talk about how to set it up later. This is just to show you what is possible. Some of my favorite ones. Actually, I think I'll keep this on the same thing so that, or maybe not. What do you think? Okay, the first thing, if you noticed, right, let's open the test bench. I don't, by default, I don't have the grid because I find it as a distraction. So I have control F10 to toggle the grid. And this one's probably not going to work because I don't have CDS plot in it here. Let me just bring the CDS plot in. So this one is a very useful one. I just put another toggle we talked about. Let me just quickly show this one. Grid. Black and white PostScript. Okay, generic one has it. What this lets you do, Control B, it gives you the thing in PostScript and also launches the display. So then you can quickly grab it into your PowerPoint. So that is Control B. That saves me a lot of time. Control B present. Control B. Yeah. Okay. Next one is the assistance. So that's one thing I don't like. By default, if you open up a cell, you get the assistance. So Control F1 and Control F2 will dismiss them, or toggle them, sorry. And the default bind keys are F11 and Control F11, but then you're using two hands, whereas if you set up my bind keys, then with one hand you get in. So then Control Alt, yeah, this is a very useful one here. So I want to, let's say I go in, I want to find this cell in the library manager, Control Alt S, will find that cell. Saves me a lot of time. Go here, find the cell. Well, we know that this one is okay, index 4. I thought it was. I'll find this cell in the library manager, Control Alt S. Now this one is being read. So Control Alt S is locate demo that one. So now let's say I want to instantiate this cell. I edit. So Control 2, as you know, is to make editable. Control Shift 2 is make read only. Control 2, make it editable. Now I want to instantiate this cell. I think it's easier than doing I and then browsing, going to finding a cell and then instantiating. It's much better to find the cell in the library manager, symbol view, then just Control Alt N, instantiate the cell. So that also saves me a lot of time. Control Alt N, you see Control Alt N, instantiate.
So you keep library manager always.
Yeah, I always use the library manager. Yeah, I keep the library manager open all the time. So we talked about this one. Make editable is Control 2. Then this one is very useful. So right now we don't have a hierarchy editor, so let's do a hierarchy editor. New cell view and config. Say OK and say Spectre or anything, whatever, it doesn't matter. Schematic, OK. Say OK on that. Save. Let's close this and open this one. And now, like I said, let's say you want to find this, you want to set a different view for this guy. Find this in the hierarchy editor, Control I. Then you can quickly comment, or some other cell, just Control I will find it for you here. Then you can set whatever. One thing I learned from Rafael today is about open skip. So you know how I said I was using symbol view before to make sure that cell is not in the design, but you can just use, this is better because If you do simple view, it still puts an empty
Blind.
sub-circuit. Yeah,
Blind. Yeah.
yeah. So this is better. So we talked about this. And if this guy is closed, not open, then if you do Control I, it'll launch it. Then you can find it. So that is that. Then Alt E and Alt X, these are very useful. So I might have shown some of you this before. Let's say I'm somewhere debugging something, I plot something from here. Now I want to go back to the top level and plot something from here. I wish I had a simulation, which I don't. Maybe I should run a quick sim if it's possible. Which one has a sim here? Test benches. Comparator, everything is Maestro. Okay, but now I want to go back to where I was. That's Alt X. That saves me a lot of time. You can quickly jump in and out of a design. And then to just descend is Control X. This design, instead of going through the form E and then saying OK. So now you are here, you go back to the top, and then you want to build up a list of places you frequently go. So Control Alt D. If you didn't select anything, Control Alt D will place text corresponding to the path that you jumped back from. All right, so this one, if you want to go back there, you just select that, Control Alt D. So let's go to a different place. Let's go here, Control Logic. Let's go in here. Oh, this is. So let's jump up from here and place this one. So now it becomes very easy to go. Of course, here the names are not well done, so it's very hard to know where you're going. That's why it's important to choose good names for your instances. So those also save me a lot of time. Control Alt D, Alt X, and then Control Alt D. And this guy we just saw, increase the text size, right? So Shift up and Shift down. I think those are there by default in Cadence. It's nothing. Save is not there by default. Sometimes you don't want to do a check and save because you might get some errors. Let's say you're doing something just for putting in a presentation and you don't want to do a check and save, right? See, this what happens. Control Shift X will get rid of markers, and Alt S will just save. So now you see save. Usually it would save if it was needed. I don't know why it doesn't say that way. You can do Alt S and now it's saved already. Okay, not needed. There you go. Let's get rid of that. And Alt S, we talked about that one. Control Shift N. Okay, that's also saves me a lot of time. I want to see this cell. I want to open it up read only. Control Shift N. Can open that. That saves me a lot of time. Any cell that you, but it's not just the cell. You can also put text. So let's say we have this cell. Let's say have the cell, right? So it's sorry, DC is kind of hard to read if that's 11 or 1. Okay. Let's say I place some note here saying started from and then just this also saves me a lot of time. So later I want to open up that cell. I can do the same thing here. I can find it. So let's say I'm somewhere here. Now I want to find this cell in the library manager. It didn't find it because maybe this is make sure we get the name right. Oh, sorry, EDC2. Okay, that makes more sense. Okay, select, find this one in the library manager, it will do it. So it's whether it's a cell or text containing something slash something where it tries. Of course, it's not very sophisticated. So this also you can do Control Shift N and open it, read all it. Those things save me a lot of time, especially when if you really want to look at the previous version, you have a note says, okay, started from this one. You want to see that one quickly. Control Shift N. Control N is also saves me time. I want to put a no connect, Control N. Place the no connect. So that's a handy one to have. This one is actually pretty useful. Cadence, some of these Cadence actually did for me, put in a ticket and they find someone to algae. Like mostly I don't recommend anybody change the grid, but once in a way you find some schematic where somebody has changed the grid. So how to change the grid is Alt and up and down arrow. So now you do Alt down arrow, not the grid, the snap spacing. So you saw it was half of the minor grid. Now it's 1/4. So let's put something off grid. Put this off grid. And then let's put a no connect here. So a bunch of things off grid. So let's go back to the preferred snap spacing. That's half of the minor grid. So you can see now. Right? So now we want to, if you don't select anything, it operates on the whole schematic. Select something, it operates only on that. Alt G will move it onto grid. That saves me out. Once in a way, it can save you a lot of time if you inherit a schematic that's got things off grid. Then dismiss net name annotations. By default, let's get rid of view annotations. Design defaults. Okay, this one doesn't have any of those annoying. Why is that? Because yeah, this one should have something, right? So if you do design annotations, net names, okay. You want to dismiss these guys because if you do your print, it doesn't. See, zoom in there. Okay, yeah, it doesn't look good, right? So you want to get rid of those is all what? All 6. Oh, I didn't see this before. Ah, what I did. I don't know why I did it only to that one. And defaults. So, okay. Let's see, annotations, net names. Okay, that's better. That's what I usually see, and I don't want to see that. All 6 will get rid of it. Now, if I had some simulation, I could show how easy it is to plot. Anyway, we'll get there. Load. Okay, this is okay. You can see the line thickness is if you highlight something 9, it's coming out thin, and I prefer it to be thick. What can you do about that? You first save the, I think it is drf. Okay, here's the procedure. Dr dump drf display. Let's try that. Dr dump drf display drf underscore all. And hopefully it has done it. Yeah, I did it. Then you just have to run this flow command. So let's try that. Okay, seems to have done it. So now if I do Control T, it should give me thick highlighting. Okay, there you go. It did it. And then Control Shift B will give you blinking highlighting. So sometimes that can be useful if you have something, you come to the schematic, you find a pin, like this guy, just for example, it's very hard to find where it's going. Then you highlight that guy, and then you can do the blinking highlight maybe and see where it's going. Back to Control T. The other thing which I see Stephen, why is it still blinking? Control T, and
so
then
Anant, can
yeah.
you on the blinking? That's a useful one. How do you do that blinking thing?
Oh, okay. So what happens when you do this, right? It creates a bunch of files. I'll show you. It has created these guys. Like display started off when you did the dump, it dumps all the layers into this file. And then you can use that Perl script and it'll generate these guys. Dash line, thick line. So then when you do Control Shift B, you're just choosing a different display resources file. So that's how it works. The other thing which is useful, which I started using recently, is I think some people like to use it all the time, but I don't. Control Alt Shift D, turn on the dynamic or the net highlighting. And some people like it all the time. I see it's useful. So for the case which I said, okay, where is it going? You can use the blinking highlighting. I think this is probably actually better. This is faster, I think. So you don't want it all the time. Just Control Alt Shift D will toggle back and forth between that. So that is Control Alt Shift D. Yeah, this guy. Control T we discussed. This is not there by default. Dismiss all net highlights. So you highlight a bunch of things, and you can once you while it's still selected, you can keep pressing 9, and it will toggle between. I mean, it will cycle through the. Oh, for some reason, it's not keeping that one selected. Anyway, so then 8 to unhighlight a particular one is 8. So 8 and then click on 1. Ah, why didn't it work? I don't know. Okay, that worked. Other thing you can do is if you have your net, you have this guy open, I think you might be able to go to nets and find that one that's highlighted, and you can unhighlight, probe, remove. That also will work well. Easier to use Bindkeys. So we talked about 0, 8, and this, and then start. Okay, this is useful for the case of non-default schematics. Sometimes you have schematic something else, right? In this case, okay, it's just schematic. So but sometimes you might have schematic sim or something. Just put a note saying that. Then shift selected and shift scroll wheel will change the font if you like something other than default. And control scroll wheel change font. Yeah, we talked about that. Alt scroll wheel, this is very useful. It saves me a lot of time. So for example, like here, you can see this one is, it shows you, oh, you have to hover on top of it. At the bottom right, you see the instance is I8 0 to 9. So let's say, you didn't have this. So let's say, so what I'm saying is, okay, for wire, oh shoot, I mean to do that. For wire, select it, and then Alt scroll wheel will change the thickness. That's useful. Sometimes you want to show, okay, wire is going to carry a lot of current instead of going through properties, just select it and Alt scroll wheel. And then for bus, same thing. So you can change the, oh, I didn't know it could go negative. That's probably a bug in that thing, but something wrong here. Okay, it's not working as I expect because it's supposed to increase the, interesting. Let's show you how it's expected to work. Oh, because we normally do only, okay, we always use higher to lower, right? That's okay. So the script has a bug or a skill has a bug, but this is how we expect to use it most of the time. And it also applies to the instance busing. So in this case, I didn't select this guy. So you saw this one is 0 to 9. So that's also going to do the same thing. Okay, so this is now single instance, and this is single wire, single signal. So you can see both of them are changing together. And then Shift, Alt, and scroll wheel will transpose it. So you can see the width stays the same. It just transposes it. This can save you time occasionally if you're doing a lot of them. So we talked about that. And Q, okay, so the reason I like to use the modified version of Q, which is not very different. Let's go here. So Control 2, and then now I'm using so actually you can actually go back to the default bind keys using, I think it's Control Shift T. Is it Control Alt T? I forget. let me see. Trying to see which ones. Control Shift T, okay, it's not working. Control Shift T should give a message, but it didn't. So let's see here, Q. Now if I select two of them and do Q and change this, okay, nothing was changed. But now if I do Q, okay, you see it went back to only current, right? So I didn't go back to the default Bindkeys. So what I'm saying is that the way I have it set up, when you do Q, you always get only current. And then if you do Control Alt Shift Q, you always get all selected. So that makes it much easier to change properties for all selected rather than having to change on the form because it says something which you don't want over here. I use Q and then Alt Shift Q. And the another thing that's very useful is Control Alt H. Select all of the same type. I didn't know that these are different. So this is what? This is ID1, and this is something else. This is. They are different, but they look the same. So you can Control Alt H will select all of the same type. Yeah, it's sometimes can be very useful to quickly change properties on a bunch of things. So that's Control Alt H will select all of the same faster, like here, all the voltage sources, for example. Here, all no com. But that also saves a lot of time. So we talked about this, Control P, okay. So sometimes somebody gives you a symbol which is not nice, but you don't want to edit it. By default, you cannot move these things. And you can change it. If you use Control F, then you can change this, but then you're manually changing. So the bind key I have for that is Control P to toggle between. So now if you do Control H, you'll see all are selected. Control F, sorry. So all Control P will toggle between those two. So now you cannot select this. Control P can select it. So move it if you want, or something, make your schematic nicer without changing the symbol. And sometimes, so by default, to select something, you have to either click on it or you have to enclose it with your selection rectangle. Sometimes you want to select by just the crossing rectangle. So Control M will toggle that mode. So now by just crossing, you can select it. Sometimes useful if you want to plot all of these signals, right? Rather than selecting one and the next one, you can go into cross to select all of them, hit escape, and you can plot. So let me show that. But for that, I need a simulation. So we have talked about this. Well, let me see if I can run a sim on something. It will be text fixture, test benches. Everything is Maestro view. That's a little sad. Offset run. Okay, let's try this one. Or maybe I can actually, I think it's easier to just to demonstrate what I want. I think it's easier to just make a simple test bench and do it that way. New schematic and here just put this guy. How long? And okay, let's put the one. Delay 900 milliseconds. Let's make it 4. push PDL and stop one, say enable. I think default is moderate, so let's run it. Didn't want to run. Okay, Spectre is didn't find Spectre in the path. Set path equal to mmsim installation path. Installation path. Okay, so you can find Spectre. It's here, but it doesn't know where the executable installation path. Okay, let me just set the path then. Okay. That means I might have to launch this guy again. Let's see. I just do that. Set the path. Set path equal to. Where it's hanging. Okay. I think I pressed F1 or something. Okay. So loaded the Bindkeys up. Now let's try to run this. So to run, you can either do this, or if you don't, Control-Alt-Shift-R will also run. It says running is something. Let's see. Error plus parameter VD. Okay, there are some. Oh, okay. Values and 3 runs. Let's just put something. Right. Okay, so now let's plot this. So the plot, the way I do it is Control-4, enter plotting mode, then select, and Control-C, select, escape, and it'll plot. For some reason it plotted one, but not the other. No data for V2. Don't know why it doesn't want to plot this one. Doesn't make sense.
So what bindkeys did you use for that, Anand?
These guys. So here, control, do I have it here? I didn't list those. Interesting. Okay. So this one, while I was working, showing my friend Shanti, I just put this together in a hurry. But actually, the exhaustive list I'll send you that has everything. But here, plot is Control-4, enter plotting mode. Select the nets or terminals and press escape or plotting. So that one also saves me time. And but for some reason it plotted one but not the other. So I think could be that we are going into AMS and it discards APS and it's discarding. Yeah, I think APS will discard. So go back to Spectre and try this again. See if it plots. And here Control-G will toggle grid in Viva. So let's do this and let's plot this again. Okay, yeah, I think APS is smart, and if it, I don't know what's the rationale for throwing away. But okay, so then what I was saying, suppose you have a lot of nests that you want to plot and you don't want to select manually. So I changed my selection mode, right? So you see that now I can cross the select. So again, go into Control-4, just do a Q Control-4, and then cross to select both of them, say escape, and there's that. And the other thing is you want to plot a bus, so let's try that example.
So previous one, the APS didn't save one node. Is that the case?
Yeah, it actually, I think, threw it away from the netlist. I think if you go to APS, then you have to specifically sometimes say instance preservation. I think you have to say, I think it looks at the netlist and says, okay, this is really doing nothing and discards. Although in this case, I don't know how it decided that.
Oh, okay.
That's one thing with APS, you have to sometimes watch out for that. Here is yeah, okay, we could quickly look at the bus example. So in this case, we'll select all three. Well, let's give it a name. Oh, VDD, let's say VDD, just a quick. VDD would never be a bus, but we'll just do an example. Select all three, and now we make a bus out of them. So you have 4. You want to plot a bus. This one also, Cadence helped me out many years ago. Because the problem is if you want to plot it this way, now you have to go through the form and say escape, it plotted it. If you want to bypass the form, Control 4, and then click, and then Alt A, and just click anywhere in your schematic blank area and press Alt A. Get that way you don't have to deal with the form. So that's yeah, this one okay. What? Actually, yeah, then another one. Oh, so here we say, okay, these quickly show these 3. So we didn't do a OP operating point simulation. So let's do some operating point. DC voltage, let's make it 2.3, just because now. Just put her as well. And then if we do operating point DC, okay, on this one. And then here you do 6, shows you the operating point information here. All 6 shows the node voltages. Control 6 goes back to defaults. And then let's say you had a transistor, you want to look at operating point information, press 1, then click on that one. It'll show you here, and then you click here and press 3, you can dismiss that one. Also window and close, I think it's the same thing.
Can you
Sometimes, yeah, these guys.
press one button to show operating point, DC operating point? Do
So
you have that shortcut?
for one instance, you press 1 and select the instance. Shows you in this form here.
Oh, the window pop up.
Yeah.
It's not showing on the screen. For example,
Yes.
there's schematic.
On schematic, yeah. So that is 6. Go press 6. It will show you the operating point info. Let's see if they have some. Their generic PDK have some transistor here. MOS. Let's do something. Let's say MOS 3 volt MOS. Let's put something and see what you get. Let's just put something. Oh, I see. Shows you.
Oh, okay.
This guy here, so you can see.
It's a 6. You can put.
Yeah, 6. And default is Control-6 to go back to default.
Okay.
6 is for operating info. Alt 6 is for node voltages. And then you want to look at this one in detail, press 1 and click that guy. Then you can see the detailed copy info. If you're interested in something which is not there here, GDS maybe, you can find it here, GDS. And press 3 over here, dismiss that one. About these. New plot window in Viva. Okay, you plotted something. Sometimes, say plot these guys. And let's say you plan to run another simulation and then you want to update to compare, right? So in the meantime, you want to look at other things. So come here, plot Control N, a new plot window, and then you can plot something else here. So that's this case. Okay, current. I'm plotting current. And let's to show what I meant right here. Just show you the you change something here. Change the pulse width to you get 870. Right. We run the simulation. Oh, that's too bad. Don't even want APS. We only want Spectre, but we can't. That's a bit tough. Okay. Okay, finally. Okay. Then you have this. You can come to your schematic and do Alt-Shift-P, and it will update. And it updated. Okay, it's not perfect, as you can see. It's kind of interesting. We updated this, I thought. Instead, it. Okay, but you kind of get the idea. It's like let's do that again. Let's go out of the bus thing here, and so we run this. We don't have to, oh god, we can show us using Cadence as schematic. Okay, so this is finished run. So let's plot these two here. Control or come here, click the voltage. So you have 3. So then let's say we change something. Let's make this 450 and rerun. Hopefully we're not going to wait too long. Okay, great. So now we just want to see the difference. So Alt-Shift-P will plot, overlay a plot on that. So sometimes that's useful. It doesn't work perfectly. So previous time when I had the bus thing, it didn't work perfectly. But sometimes, yeah, as long as they're all unique thing, it'll work good. So you can, instead of you do reload, which is Control R, and then you only see the new thing. You sometimes want to see the difference between the new and the old, right? So Alt-Shift-P and the Shift plus P. Like that up. And then the thing that I didn't go over, so Control N is new plot window. We talked about that. Toggle the grid. Talked about that. And then if you had more windows here, Control N, you want to delete them, it's Control D to delete windows. Talked about all 6. Talked about that. Window. Okay, toggle case. I find it useful. Control Alt C. Toggle the case of the selected. Looks for text as well. I don't think it does. Okay, good. I myself didn't know that. Okay, toggle case. Sometimes that's useful. Then this one, yeah. So show this one. We should use their schematic for this one. Test benches, and let's say this guy. So one thing which I like is in a big schematic like this, right? The person who knows the schematic knows where the pins are, but somebody else who's not familiar with the schematic has to hunt for the pins. So I like when I fit the schematic on a big monitor like this, I like to have the pin names visible. So control and then up arrow will make all the pin names bigger, 10% bigger each time. So you can just do it quickly as long as you need to get it bigger. So I like to do that to make all the pin names visible. It saves me time. Trying to think. There are some things which you don't use very often, like this one. Oh. This, and then you can increase the spacing between the perfectly, but using the control and then your numeric keypad plus and minus. Once in a way, I think when you're doing top level sims, and I forget when I wanted that. One thing which people might not be aware of, I had this feature. I spent 1 year without Cadence. I was working, but I only had Tanner tools, and so I had to. Tanner tools uses TCL as the command language, not skill. So I missed this feature so much. I don't know if you know about this one or not. Select the instance, press space, and then it creates a wire stub with the name of the wire label, same as the pin. And that's can be very useful. I had to write that one using TCL.
Yeah, that's a good one, Anand.
Yeah.
For digital, right? We manually add every time.
Okay. So you can also select the pin and do one.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Cadence has this function, right?
Yeah, it's default.
Yeah, yeah, it's a default.
But when I didn't have it in Tanner tools, I had to make that one using TCL, tool command language. So I miss that feature so much. So this is also an edit.
How to connect the bus wires? Let's say all 5 or 6 arrays of wires together. We can do that also.
Let me just space to get. We talked about. Yeah, tell me again. You have a bus?
Yeah, bus.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're talking about this one.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, it will work for a bus also. Then just do your no con, and then you can just use the control scroll wheel, alt scroll wheel to size the no connect, whatever.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, so those are the important ones. Yeah, pretty good on time as well. So I'll send you this, and then I'll send the link to the recording, and then I'll send the steps to. Installing doesn't take much time. It's like 5 to 10 minutes if you. Yeah, so I'll send those steps, and then if you want to install it, we can either follow the steps or we can work together. Either way.
I like your display setup. Do you have that? Like font, your font it's 11.
Yeah. Exactly. So that one also I will send the steps for that. So it's basically from the CDS ENV says, in fact, all the Bindkeys are good, but after a couple of days, Shanti, my friend in Dallas, she said the thing which is helping most is the font, the bigger font.
Right.
Yeah, I'll send you the steps for it. It's basically the CDS ENV has the new font setting. So that,
Okay. And the curves you set to the waveform, so it's like medium.
That also is in the